This starts with a 14th century donkey. Not your regular cute farm donkey, no. This one has a very serious problem. He was standing in the middle of two choices. On one end, of fresh hay. On the other end is a bucket of water. Now the donkey thinks, which one do I choose? The water or the hay? He keeps thinking endlessly and endlessly until he dies. He dies of indecision. Now that's not just bad luck, that's a PhD in indecisiveness. Now this is not just a sad story about a donkey. It's an actual philosophical paradox called the Buridan's donkey. The idea that when you have two equally good choices, decisiveness stops you from taking either. Now let me put you in the donkey's shoes. Imagine this. You come home after a long, tiring day, and now you're hungry. Phone in hand, a food delivery app is open. Think about it. What would you order? It sounds hard, doesn't it, to make such a quick decision in a short amount of time? This is our indecisiveness. So, this is a relatable struggle for us. We live in a city where Irani chai is in our blood and biryani is in our heart. But we also live in a city where every day there's a new cuisine, a new restaurant, and a new viral dish to try. Just yesterday, I saw a place serving masala chai ice cream. Now, who asked for that? Nobody. But who's still going to try it? Probably. This indecision not only puts us in a situation where we're confused, but it also overwhelms us. Let me ask you this. Have you ever scrolled through Swiggy for minutes trying to decide what to order, but you couldn't decide? Raise your hand if you have. Have you ever gone through a 10-page menu full of countless choices, but just sat there confused and overwhelmed? I see a lot of hands, and I know it. This is indecision. It's common in all of us. It's a relatable struggle. Sometimes this gets left confused and overwhelmed. Be a little angry, like this guy over here. This is what happens when you have too many choices. You get confused, overwhelmed, sometimes even angry. So you think abundant choice should be clear, but it doesn't. And that is what psychologists call the paradox of choice. Sometimes we just confused, and we can see it in others as well. Think about it. Have you ever asked a friend, what does he want to eat for lunch? And he just says, anything is fine. But the moment you start listing choices, suddenly anything is not fine. This constant back and forth of suggestion and rejection is the paradox of choice in play. And in food, this gets dangerous because it's not just a taste decision you're making, it's a health decision. So you might be wondering, why does it really matter? Why does it matter that I'm indecisive? How does that impact me? A study from the journal Environment and Behavior highlighted that we make over 200 food-related decisions every single 100. And think about it, every day we're not just making decisions about food, we're making decisions about life. So by the time dinner rolls around, your brain will be tired, it will be exhausted, and that is decision fatigue. You won't want to weigh the pros and cons of a balanced meal. Your brain will just say, I'm tired, I'm hungry. Just give me something easy, something quick, maybe something deep fried. And that's when you find yourself in the middle of the night, leftovers in one hand, a spoon in the other, eating a random snack over the kitchen sink. Not because it was your favorite meal, but because it was the easiest choice you could have made. And this shows that making choices is really important, not only for our mind, but also our body. We think meals are just there to nourish us and keep us healthy. But the truth is, you won't be fully satisfied with a meal unless you satisfy your mind. That's why a plate of dal, rice, and vegetables might make your belly happy and might keep your family happy as well if you're eating some good food. But your mind will still open the fridge door middle of the night hoping a beautiful cheesecake would magically appear. But it doesn't, does it? So how do we avoid the donkey's fate? And how do we not be left unsatisfied and still be happy with the choices we make? I found 3 strategies at this. The first strategy, the second strategy, and the strategy, all of them layer on top of each other. A little like a taco. So, to demonstrate this solution, I am going to be building a taco. And obviously, every TEDx talk is better with food. So, the first strategy is delegation, allowing someone to help you make the decision. Now, I know it might sound lazy, like, why are you letting someone take the decision for you? But delegation allows you to remove yourself from the burden of regret. And I've seen the impact of it in my personal life as well. Let me tell you my gelato story. I once went to this incredible gelato store with 50 flavors of gelato. 50, 5-0. And now trust me, as an avid foodie, it was heaven. I wanted to try every single flavor. But I can't, can I? So I settled for 12. Trust me, the staff hated me by flavor number 8. But by the end of it, when I make a decision, I spent the next 10 minutes wondering if I should have chosen another flavor. Maybe that pistachio flavor would have been better instead. Yeah. If I would have just asked the staff, what do you recommend? What's your best seller? I could have avoided this guilt. And that is delegation. It's the first start, and it's a powerful tool. But balance is important. You can't outsource every decision in life. You don't need someone deciding your career for you, do you? It's a powerful tool which can help you choose and be more satisfied with it. So this is the first layer. It's the tortilla. It's what starts a taco. But in of itself, it's not quite a full meal, is it? Instead, it's a start. So I've placed 2 tortillas on this plate here. The next step is a rather important one, and it's something I believe we can benefit from for every decision in life. It is shrinking the decision. Break down big decisions into smaller ones so that you can think about it more clearly. Let me give you an example. Instead of thinking, how do I eat healthy this month? Ask yourself, what's one healthy meal I can eat today? Instead of asking yourself, what do I want for lunch? Ask yourself, what's an appetizer I could have? What do I want for main course? And, of course, what's for dessert? Because none of us are skipping out on dessert. Shrinking the decision allows us to see more clearly. It reduces the mental burden we have on ourselves. You can relate this to watching something on Netflix. If you want to watch a show, don't ask yourself, what do I want to watch tonight? Ask yourself, do I want an action comedy or do I want a documentary? Break it down, filter your choices, and make yourself more clear. So for our taco, this layer is represented by the beans and the vegetables. It's the main substance of our taco. And they're quite important. You know, I can't have a taco without beans and vegetables. The next step is critiquing the perfect outcome. This is important because oftentimes we're looking for the perfect outcome, a Michelin star meal or a wonderfully aesthetic experience. But when you deliberately find the imperfection in your option, you reduce the mental pressure to take it. For example, this rooftop restaurant is amazing. It has a great view, it has great food, but it's also a bit too far away. This new cafe is incredibly aesthetic and it has fantastic coffee, but it's also a bit too pricey. So critique your decision, critique and find the imperfection, the flaws, the limitations, and make it easier for yourself to see what you really want. Psychologists call it critiquing, psychologists call it consequentiality. I call it lowering the stakes so that I can actually eat dinner. So for this, using my overused taco metaphor again, this layer is represented by the toppings. I have some lettuce, tomatoes, and cheese here, also corn. And we often think toppings come last, but they can elevate the whole experience. Just like how critiquing your decision can help you see more clearly and understand what you really want, what works for you, what doesn't. Because sometimes we just need to rethink, understand what we really want in our day, what we want in our meal. And that can be achieved by critiquing our perfect outcome. Finally, another step that is often really neglected and a smaller one is cooking your meal yourself. When you cook food yourself, you're often left more satisfied by the end of it. It's a proven fact. When you cook food, you control what you put in it. You control the ingredients, the flavors, and you can make it to your liking. The taco which I built right in front of you here, it's very simple. Anyone can make it. So cooking shouldn't be seen as a burden as well. Furthermore, when you control what you put in your food, you can make it healthier. As I said before, we need to satisfy both our brain and our belly. And in my gut, I have 3 pounds of mushy cells, which we call microorganisms. These are really important because these little fellas actually produce 90% of the serotonin in our body. Less than 10% of serotonin is produced in our brain. Serotonin, as you might know, is nature's antidepressant. So it's really important for us to care for our gut microbiome. Right? And how can we do that? That taco right there, the tortilla and the beans, they are fantastic prebiotics, food for our gut microbiome. So cook food yourself, it's really difficult. Once you make the decision, use all these strategies and filter. See what you really want, make it yourself. So finally, the paradox of plenty is this. We think abundance means freedom. But in reality, we freeze, left confused and overwhelmed because without the right strategy, abundance is not a gift. However, if you just pause, take a breather, and realize what you really want, apply the right strategies, think about it critically, you can make abundance a gift again. So sometimes, in this fast-paced, choice-overloaded world, you just need to slow down and maybe make yourself. Thank you.